Digging is written by Seamus Heaney, who is an Irish writer and won Nobel Prize in Literature in 1995. Digging is his debut poem of published in his collection of Naturalist in 1966. The poem is written in iambic pentameter. Digging is used as a symbolic representation. Here, it is used as digging or cultivating work from generation to generation. The entire poem is uttered by the first person speaker. In this video, I will cover this poem's theme, subject matter, summary, line by line explanation, and its literary device. After covering this entire video, there will be no confusion about understanding the poem. Its theme is digging, generation, hardworking or labor, admiration, whereas its subject matter is digging, which focuses on the relationship between the author, his father, and the author's grandfather in terms of hard work. Now, I am quickly evaluating the synopsis to have a background knowledge of the poem. The poem opens with the speaker sitting at his desk, his pen set to begin writing. Further, he is distracted by the sound of his father working in the garden, which takes the speaker into a spiral of memories about his father working in the potato fields when he was a small child. The memories continues even further back to his grandfather and the hard effort he conducted as a peat harvester. The speaker eventually pulls out of his daydream and returns to his desk, ready to get back to work on his writing. Line by line explanation. Between my fingers and my thumb, the squat pen rests, snug as a gun. Here, every sound seems to fit with pen and gun, as each to another suggests the way that the pen fits perfectly in the speaker's hand, almost as if writing what he was born to do. Under my window, a clean rasping sound. When the spade sinks into the gravelly ground, my father digging. I look down. Someone outside is digging using a spade. Here, rasping sound is used because the spade passes across the lot of tiny stones that comprise the gravelly ground. It is the speaker's father who is doing the digging. Still his straining run among the flower beds bends low, comes up 20 years away, stooping in rhythm through the potato drills where he was digging. Here his father is working pretty hard, bends and digging among the flower beds. Then he flashbacks 20 years back in his mind. His father was in the process of digging potatoes. By the way, both potatoes drills are rows of potatoes that are evenly placed throughout the field. However, it is also refers to the act of drilling a hole into the mud to plant the potatoes. It seems the rhythm of father bending and rising in his garden as a sparked his flashback. The coarse board nestled on the log, the shaft against the inside knee was levered firmly. He rooted out all tops, buried the bride at depth. His father wore rough or harsh boots. The boot is coarse, that refers to beat up old work boot. A lug refers to the top of blade of the spade, which sticks out on either of the shaft or handle. Stepping on the lug and putting all his weight on it helps sink the tool into the ground so he can dig the hole. Levered firmly against the inside of his father's knee, it just indicates that he has a tight hold on, ensuring that he maintains his balance while he drills the spade into the ground. He rooted out means he found the potato tops by digging them up. Bright edge is the edge of Pat's blade. To scatter new potatoes that we picked, loving their cool hardness in our hand. It means to separate the new potatoes we picked, that means the finest potatoes we take to use for cooking. Also, the speaker appreciated the hard work with love. By God, the man could handle a spade, just like his old man. Here, his father's old man means his grandfather. He means his grandfather and father appears to have been rather adept digging up these potatoes, and his grandfather was no slouch in the fields either. My grandfather cut more turf in a day than any other man on Toner's bug. Once I carried him milk in a bottle, corked floppily with paper. The speaker is reaching even further back into the family history to the time when his grandfather dug the turf. His grandfather could cut turf more than anybody else in Tonersburg. Tonersburg is a village near the speaker's birthplace. He was as hardworking as his father is. Then the speaker's mind enters the memory passes with his grandfather. He took him fresh milk with paper shocked in the top. Corked sloppily means carelessly putting a cap on the bottle. He strained up to drink it, then fell to right away, nicking and slicking neatly, having swords over his shoulder, going down and down for the good turf, digging. His grandfather stands up and takes a very short break from his hard work to have the sip. After the quick break, he went back to his work again. The speaker emphasizes how he nicking and slicking into the ground with his spade. It appears as though it is not just hard labor, but also requires lots of technique. The grandfather's technique as efficiency are identical to what we witnessed earlier in the poem from his father. Having swords over his shoulder, going down and down for the good turf. Digging means chucking the pieces of turf on his shoulder. He is going down and down, continuing digging for good turf. Nutrient rich stuff that good for using as fuel or fertilizer. The cold smells of potato mold, the squells and slap of soggy peat, the cuts of age. Since the speaker lives in Ireland and it may have had cold weather at that time, he had cold smell in the potato's moldy scent that associate with coldness. Here the speaker's mind goes through a soft sucking sound, identical to the sound made when heavily stepping through mood slapping to the soggy pit by his grandfather. By referring to the curved cuts of an edge through living roots, a sound that awakens the speaker's head. The speaker refers the sound of his spade cutting plants out of the dirt. Here, these two lines mixing, smelling and feeling both senses immediately. Through living roots awaken in my head, but I have no spade to follow men like them. Through living roots awaken in my head, the speaker says, explaining the impact his rural upbringing had on him. He ends the stanza by saying he has no spade to follow the man like his father and grandfather. Between my fingers and my thumb, the squat pen rests. I will dig with it. The poems end so smoothly, with returns to this starting point and repeats the poem's initial two lines. The poem's final words emphasize how the speaker continues the tradition of hard labor and digging in his own work in different way. Here the poem ends. Now let's see its summary. Digging dives into the relationship among the speaker, his father, and the speaker's grandfather. The speaker lives in marked contradiction to his father and grandfather. He is a writer, whereas his father and grandfather were farmers. However, even though he is not a digger of the dirt, the speaker recognizes that he can still honor his ancestors by adopting their principles. The speaker's life and work are shaped by his history, and he sees a model for approaching his own art in that history. The poem claims that by doing so, the speaker is paying respect to his father and grandfather. One does not have to exactly follow the footsteps of their forefathers in honoring and preserve their history. Now I am moving forward to the most essence part of this poem about its literary device. This poem is written by or written in free verse poem because it's not following any rhythmical structure, and the poem's tone is serious or full of reflection. It contains alliteration, assonance, and simile. So, alliteration is a literary device that repeats a speech sound in a sequence of words that are close to each other. Here we can see the squat pen rests snug as a gun. Here S and S sound was repeatedly close. Also, when the spade sinks into gravelly ground, here is the same case occurred. The rest of the examples are same, they are alliteration. And assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds across the words within the lines of the poem, creating internal rhythm. In this poem, between my finger and my thumb, here double E and finger E, this occur assonance, also nicking and squeaking, having thoughts, they are assonance. Also, when two things are compared and with by using as or like, it considered as simile. Here, snag as a gun, just like his old man are similes. So this poem is contains both alliteration, assonance, and simile. Now let's look over its image and imagery. The poem combines several images. The second stanza carries a literal as well as auditory, like raspberry sound image. Meanwhile, the third and fourth stanza creates a visual and kinesthetic image. The use of bend slow, stopping in rhythm, digging. Buried the bright is deep. The following two lines by God, the old man could handle a spade, just like his old man, contains literal image. Additionally, the next stanza includes both literal image and kinesthetic by nicking and flicking neatly, having swords over his shoulder, going down and down for the good turf, digging. Finally, the following stanzas contains olfactory smells of the potato mold and literal image. That was all about my video. Thanks for watching.